Password cracking concept. Reconnaissance process gives an attacker an overview to get information about the company and employee names that will help in future password guessing. As complicated passwords are difficult to remember, users tend to choose easiest password possible. Users used to choose password as something that is easy to remember, like birthday, pet's name, kids' names, etc. Password guessing attacks just require an amount of interaction which is required with an authentication system. They are considered to be online attack when the perpetrator must make use of an authentication system to check each guess of password. On the other hand, offline attacks sees an attacker obtaining information that will allow him to check password guesses on his own, without any further access to the system. Online attacks are generally considered slower than offline ones. Automated password attacks can be divided into two basic categories: dictionary attack and brute force attack. A simple dictionary attack involves loading a dictionary file, a text file full of dictionary words, into cracking application such as Loftcrack and running it against user accounts located by the application. The brute force method is the most inclusive and it tries every possible letter and number combination in its automated exploration. For stopping password guessing, the ports should rightly be addressed used by the NetBIOS protocol, namely TCP and UDP port 135 and 139 to unauthorized access. Disable binding to Win's client on any adapter. Users should also be aware of their contribution and must choose a password which should include letters, numerals, and symbols. Password sniffing concept. One of the popular methods adopted over local area network is password sniffing, as compared to detecting sniffers, which can be difficult and are more stealth in nature. A sniffer program running on a system can scan all the messages which traverse the network looking for passwords and other sensitive information. If a user logs into the network computer and sniffer program is running in the attacker's system, the attacker can sniff out the login information such as username and its password. It makes an attacker's path easy to log into the target system as an authentic user and then compromise it further. This technique is also called password sniffing. For defending against password sniffing, use one-time passwords apart from encryption. A one-time password is a password which is only good for one use. Windows operating system based on the LAN manager networking protocols use an authentication system that consists of transmitting a hashed 24-byte password across the network from client to server in a challenge-response format. The hashed password from the client is compared with the hash of the same password in the server's database. A match results in authentication. However, the problem lay in the weak hash algorithm and the conversion of the hash into uppercase. The algorithm divided the password into 7-character segments and the hash then individually. This allowed the attacker to restrict the password cracking to 7 letters and also easier. The weakness of the password hash, coupled with the transmission of the hash across the network in the challenge format, made LM-based system highly susceptible to password interception and brute force attack by Loftcrack. Privilege escalation. The process of gaining higher privilege to that of an administrator is called privilege escalation. Privilege escalation takes place when an attacker gains access to the network using non-admin user account. After gaining a valid username and password of a remote system, the attacker will attempt to increase his privileges by escalating the used account to that having increased the privileges such as that of an administrator. The degrees of the escalation depend on which privileges the attacker is authorized to hold and which privileges can be obtained in a successful attack. For stopping general privilege escalation, restrict interactive logons and access to system programs that users do not require such as cmd.exe, auditing, account logon event success, failure, privilege user success, failure and system event success, etc. Password cracking algorithm. As security awareness increased, most systems began running the password through some type of algorithm to generate a hash. This hash is usually more than just rearranging the original password. It is usually a one-way hash. The one-way hash is a string of characters that cannot be reversed into its original text. Most systems do not decrypt the stored password during authentication but store the one-way hash. Attackers can use a combination of attack methods to reduce the time involved in cracking a password. This is where automated password crackers come into action. There are freeware password crackers available on the internet for NT and Unix-based system. Password cracking algorithm involves finding a valid user, the particular encryption algorithm being used, obtaining encrypted password, creating a list of all possible passwords, encrypting each word, and checking for a match for each user ID known. This process is repeated till the desired results are obtained or all options are exhausted.